Welcome into another edition of the Denko Gridiron Show. Today is Saturday, and that means it is our recap edition of the show. Now, Stephen Peters is having a little bit of technical difficulties. That's why we had a little bit of the late start, but he is here.
I
Stephen,
am
how are
here.
you doing?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect. Hey, good thing for wireless technology and cell phones, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, like you just said, man. Like right before the show kicked off, my little XLR device just went red, mic turned off, camera turned off, all the good stuff. So I'm not sure what's happening, but I'm working diligently to get up and running on my side. So right now, bear with me, everybody. I'm on my phone.
Yep. As he said, as Steven said, technology, wonderful, but also frustrating at times, as I think all of us are well aware of nowadays, with these wonderful little cell phone devices. They can be the best thing in the world and ruin your life when it doesn't work the way you want it to. As for us, it was kind of a fun Thursday and Friday night of action. I mean, the games were pretty fun and exciting. Steven, what were your thoughts? I think going to the Battle of the Mound last night, because that's where we ended up. Wasn't initially our plan, but it's where we went, and I think I had a great time. What about you?
Yeah, same here, man. It was quite um, a fortuitous turn of events for us. We were kind of up against it in another game, and we found a stopgap solution, and that stopgap seemed to work out just well. And I think both of the games that we went to this week were surprisingly good for various reasons. Obviously, you have a rivalry game is one of them, and the other one we just didn't know which one was going to be the best of a slim pickings, and it turned out to be pretty solid. So I was happy with our choices.
Yeah, I think I was really happy with it too. I think we got to watch four fun teams at the end of the day, or two, or excuse me, I mean, four fun teams definitely for sure is a good way to put it. I think they're exciting young football teams, and I'm excited to see kind of all of them. I mean, Hutchinson, the team we watched, they're not even in our coverage area, but I'm excited to see kind of what that program does here, moving on a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit more about them once we start breaking down these games a little bit. On to our little news and notes segment here. Alrighty, I love that little drop. I don't know why I threw Taylor Swift in there, but I did. And
Well, because of last
oh,
week,
oh
you
yeah,
were
yeah, I know why. It's just
you were excited from Sunday, and you're just going to keep that excitement rolling as a Swifty.
yeah. I mean, I will until probably next week, where it's like it's worn off, and now I got to throw a different graphic in there.
Yeah, when everybody is overly exhausted.
I have made a problem for myself in the fact that graphic's now gonna have to change every single week or every
Yeah.
show. So
Yep, absolutely. Every week, every show. So you might as well go ahead and start working on them on Monday. Like, all right, what am I going to do for this time?
I gotta find whatever pop cultural reference I can find for that week that's gonna burn out in about 24 hours. So that sucks. Oh well.
Absolutely.
All right. So first off, the Denko Gridiron teams this week, heck of a job. 12-8 this week, not including our cross county games. The winning teams won by an average of 34. The losing teams by an average of 37, so not great. However, we're out there winning football games, which is great. And then we had a record setter in Ponder where Cooper Reynolds with had three interceptions last night. And he has 7 on the year, which is the single season record. All right. And then right now, if the playoffs started, we would have 18 teams in. And to me, that doesn't feel like too surprising. I kind of like our teams in this area. What about you, Steven? Oh, hold on. Did we lose him?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey,
there we go.
So I'm having
Alrighty.
issues.
We were talking about how we have a million teams that are we have 18 teams currently that would be in the playoffs. And then my perspective on it is that we're going to have more in the playoffs because this is the best area for football.
Yeah. I think Rodney Webb even said that at one time that when they were going to play
Austin Westlake in the state championship game a couple years ago. He's like, the best football's in DFW, and there's a lot of good concentrated football in Denton area for sure. But like you said, if the playoffs started now, 18 would be in, and there's still a lot to be decided. There are a couple of teams that are just right on the outside as well of those playoff spots, but there's still a lot to figure out. We've got 5 weeks left, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 5 weeks left of the regular season before we decide on a lot of things. But that's where we're at, and it's fun to see. So I couldn't come up with the count before the show started of how many teams made the playoffs from our area, just because we expanded our coverage area this year. So yeah, I know there was quite a bit from last year, maybe like 11 of the 20 some odd teams, 12 or something like that, maybe 13. So good football being had here in the Denton County area.
Yeah, it's, I grew up around here watching games and everything, and I kind of think back to like when Geyer first established itself, and that JW Walsh era when he was like a sophomore, took over as the quarterback, and all of a sudden it felt like there was this shift of, oh, there's a lot of really good football being played here in this Denton County area. Then Byron Nelson showed up and became this really good program. Salina, it was right around that time, started to become a really, I don't know prior to that, maybe they were a dominant force. Right around then, they became this dominant force and started to become this dynasty of a smaller program. And obviously they're outside of Denton County, but this whole DFW area just felt like there was a shift, and all these powerhouses were kind of just right around here.
Yeah, for sure. So it makes our jobs easier to talk about football whenever you have, so much good talent to really navigate through, and an overabundance of talent as well. So it makes it easy, but it's also just a challenge because it's a lot of good players, a lot of good teams to discuss about. Of course, there's going to be the outliers that are just not quite up to snuff, and that's going to be in every area. But no, I mean, I think we have a nice little sweet spot.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we got a great little gig here going in Denton County and covering all the teams here. I think that's the fun part is we've got, 28 teams, and they're all, every team, even like if you go this is just throughout Texas, even a team that's maybe not having a good year and having a tough time, you can go find a Division I talent on that team. Like it's just what Texas football is. Texas high school football is. I mean, it's
for sure
talent. All righty, kind of on to our fun little segment here, the stock up, stock down. But before we do that, I'm just going to hit this little drop because I like it.
Yeah, I even changed my Avi. Right now, my camera's not working, but we have stock up, stock down. My favorite segment of the year, not the year, the week. If I'm being honest, because it allows me to knee-jerk react to what we saw across the area. So let's start. Where do we start, Lee?
All right, we're starting with Frisco Legacy, and oh boy, that game was a bloodbath.
Yeah, so we've been riding high on Frisco Legacy. We talked actually to Wes Tollerson from Texas Private School Media on Friday. He gave the indication that it's going to be tough for Frisco Legacy and against Liberty, just the way you talked about with the talent, the disparity seems pretty high, and it showed last night apparently in a 52-0 loss to Liberty. The offense had no life. The defense couldn't stop a thing. Maybe we had some inflated feelings about Legacy and being 5-0, and maybe those were very bad teams that they beat and beat down pretty soundly. But they go against some pretty stiff competition, and they just get it handed to them at home.
Yeah, I don't think there's really a whole lot more to touch on there. Is you lost 52-0. So I'm kind of down on Legacy at the moment, and I don't know what else to really add on there. It's just you were a good team coming in, and then 52. I mean, to not put up any points And to
Yeah, I
give
mean,
up
they
that's
didn't even hit over 100 yards of offense, so it was a struggle. There was turnovers. They just couldn't compete against the talent that is over at Liberty.
and that's the
Um,
talent you gotta beat if you want to win state this year. Or if you wanna make a deep run, you're gonna have to play some teams of similar caliber. Maybe not exactly what Liberty is, but, like, something close, and,
mhm.
to be just drummed like that and at home, I think is the biggest worrisome thing.
Yeah, for sure. And now you kind of call into question of like how good are they in comparison to the rest of the district? You know, Tyler Grace is 5-0. Grapevine Faith is 2-3. Uh, Dunn got ran last night, so I'm not really buying them too much. But I think Legacy still makes the playoffs because all they had to do is beat Coram Deo, and Coram Deo is not a good team at all. So yeah, it's still going to be a playoff team. It's just now how good of a playoff team are you going to be? So that's kind of what we are calling into question after a 52-0 drubbing last night. And selfishly, it was kind of a karmic drubbing as well. So I'm not going to expand on that, but still, it happened. So stock down on Frisco Legacy. Stock down as well on Louisville. Boy. Not a good showing last night against Coppell. Outside, well, let me rephrase that. It took one quarter for it to turn into an ugly game, and that was the second quarter when Coppell outscored them 21-0. Every other quarter was even. Louisville just rough go of it, and now Coppell has easily asserted itself as the team to beat in that district.
Yeah, 6-6A was I don't even if there was a district we could say stock up on, I would say that because that district has just become the most entertaining thing on the planet right now.
For sure.
How insane it feels like. Like I feel like by the end of the year, that thing is going to be all right. All these teams are like their uniforms are just all going to be in tatters by the end of it. It's just insane how we're like, what is it, 2 weeks into district play in 6-6? No, 3 weeks in.
No, you're 2 weeks. You're right.
It is 2 weeks. Okay,
Yep.
good. They had that by a week, so it kind of threw me off for a second there. But absolutely insane job by Coppell. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from them. So heck of a job. Edward Griffin came out and balled out. He's been balling out all year long. But if you're Louisville, 313 yards given up through the air, that's not Louisville, man. Like you're
Yeah.
your thing is defense. Like that's what you're really good at, and your secondary is
Yeah, especially
top
that
there.
secondary.
Like maybe the pass rush wasn't quite there like it was a week or two ago. This feels like Highland Park 2.0 kind of, but maybe Coppell is just way better than we initially thought
Mhm.
coming into this week. That could be part of what this is, or this could be a mix of Coppell is really good and Louisville just isn't asserting themselves the way we thought they would. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think this is again why we're doing stock up, stock down. Like maybe there's just we're now yo-yoing with Louisville a little bit.
I think that's a great way to put it. I like that.
We when we're down on them against Highland Park because we said, that's the type of team you have to beat to be that top tier team in the state, to be considered a state title contender. They still very much could, but we've now seen two instances in very different instances where the offense couldn't perform enough to when the defense played well enough to get you the win, or the defense doesn't play well enough and the offense can't keep up with a team that is geared for you and riding high and everything. Not sure how the home environment buoyed Coppell last night, but to fall flat on your face like that whenever that's the marquee matchup of the district is just kind of alarming. Louisville might still make the playoffs. They're in a four-way four-way tie right now at 1-1. But you can't really slip up anymore because now if you make the playoffs, you're looking at squarely being the 2 seed, and then you have to go against the 6 or the 5-6A winner, who would most likely be Prosper.
Yeah, and kind of onto that note, since you brought up Prosper, the thing that, and we've kind of talked about this before with, I think Prosper's sort of had similar issues to Louisville a little bit this year in just buoying a little bit and yo-yoing a little bit in terms of what they're capable of. Uh, it's frustrating to kind of see this team with so much talent go out there. It feels like week in, week out, and we don't necessarily know what we're going to get. And I just don't know what Louisville is going to do in the playoffs. Like, it's a team where I'm like, all right, if they're hot, the last 3 weeks of district, they can go on a tear and do some serious damage in the playoffs. But
Mhm.
uh, this, it feels very reminiscent of last year in terms of that Prosper game where it just, this offense, they're very reliant on everything working perfectly, and they can't get
Yeah,
help from one side of the ball or the other, is like the way I kind of look at it. Like that offense, uh, it can kind of sink the team, and it can also, it
carry.
doesn't show
Yep.
up when they need them to in a shootout, which is really, I think, a hard thing to do.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree with anything you just said there. It's frustrating to watch because again, I'm biasly pulling for them to do well, but maybe they're just that team that's they're that middling type of not middling that middle tier type of team where it's just they'll do good things and very spark your interest, but just can't get over the hump. So who
Yeah, and
knows?
it's not a bad thing. Like I said, I think it's, you get, at the end of the day, make the big tournament. We've said this time and time again, and I'll echo it here for Louisville and any of the Louisville fans watching. It's, you get into the big dance, and if you can get in hot, that carries a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all how you're playing at the end of the season. So it's not the end of the world. What we're saying, we're just coming off the dominating win over Flower Mound last
Mhm.
week to then get blown out on the road is just it's unfortunate. It's just we're seeing red flags.
All right, on to the next one. Lake Dallas is a team I've been very high on all year, and it is definitely a worrisome because a win is a win, as we, as Stephen, as you noted here in our show notes. But Memorial has not played very well this year. This was a game where Lake Dallas, I would have loved for them to go out there and kind of just blow the doors off of Memorial. Hopefully, in being a little biased, wanting to see Lake Dallas do well this year and thinking a lot of being very high on them. This is a situation where they just didn't play very well, had a rough game, and they just pulled it out. We're on to next week, but like stock down because you need to put Memorial away.
Yeah, and you kind of wonder if this is a situation where Lake Dallas was looking ahead to Argyle next week.
Mhm.
Argyle's on a bye week. Memorial, as I noted, hasn't played well at all. Coming into the game, they had only scored like 60 some odd points in 5 weeks, giving up 272 points so far. So a huge discrepancy in terms of margin of losses because they were 0-5 coming into it. And it's tough to say a team that wins is stock down, but if you're going to be a good team, you have to not look past inferior talent. And maybe there's just something about the way Memorial plays that gives Lake Dallas fits. Last year was the same thing. It was some um, really off the wheels off play that helped Lake Dallas win this one last year. I think it was like a sack that then got thrown away. The quarterback was just trying to throw it away as he was being spun around, and it got pick six or something for the win. This one again close. It didn't go to overtime, but it was still very close. So I just want to see Lake Dallas take care of business and not look like they are looking ahead to a more highly anticipated matchup, which again we mentioned as Argyle next week.
Yeah, and kind of on that note with Argyle, I guess there's that situation where you're looking ahead to next week, especially when Argyle feels like maybe they're a little down this year, but Argyle was picking up steam here in the last week or two. So,
Yep, for
if
sure.
you're like
After
Dallas, it's like, all right, let's take this week and figure out what we're doing, or get back on track, get locked in for Friday night this next week, because we're going to be at home. We don't have to go to Argyle, but Argyle's going to travel really well for that game. So next week, that's one to definitely kind of have on your radar if you're looking for something to do on Friday night. That's definitely should be something you circle and are looking for something to do. Like I said, that Argyle Lake Dallas game over in Lake Dallas.
Yeah, no, that's it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure, and I bet we'll talk about it a little bit on our Wednesday show for sure. So yeah, just a little bit of stock down, not writing you off.
Very small.
Very small. Very small. Yep. Just we want better. We've seen better against bad teams, and so we expected better this week, which is why stock is down. All right. So last week we started selling off all the stock for some teams. We wrote off 1, 2, 3, 4 of our area teams, or at least let me rephrase that. I wrote off. This is more me saying it, but now I think after the results this week and where things are situated in that district, think I'm ready to sell any and all shares of Sanger. Oh boy, what happened? Things are not happening well on my side. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, my screen went black, and then okay, there's my image. So not sure what's happening. Sorry, people that are watching or will watch later. But Sanger is who I am selling the rest of my shares after a 43-9 to 13 loss against Van Alstyne. I'm just, Bridgeport of all teams won last night, got their first win. So it's tough goings for Chad Rogers' team in year one. You're 0-2 in district. You've lost 4 straight. I just don't see a path forward to leapfrog, maybe even Crum or Farmersville. Even though they're winless in district, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think Sanger is kind of in for a bit of a rough year this year. They've had some good play from the running back. I'm blanking on his name here first at the moment. The Liberty Christian transfer.
Yeah, Luke Thompson.
Yeah, Luke Thompson. They've got some good play from him, which is good to see. And I think he may have gotten some offers and stuff here throughout the season. So that's good to see. And then we actually got some in our interview with Coach Alexander last night at the Marcus game. Like he talked about how, he came in the spring, had a full time period where he was just trying to find and fill his staff and everything. So to come in and shift everything at Marcus, kind of pick up steam, I think he's pretty happy with how things are going there. And I think anytime you have a new coach come in, it's just going to be tough. So I'm not out on Sanger, long-term or anything. This is not, anywhere. This is not any kind of anything like that. It's just, I think Sanger's in for a bit of a rough year in terms of, it feels like their district is also is fairly competitive at the moment. So
yeah, with Van Alstyne, Aubrey, who we're talking about here in a little bit. Even still Gainesville. Now you've got Bridgeport, who is in the driver's seat for a playoff spot. You still got to play Crum. You still got to play Farmersville. Yeah. You don't know how those are going to shake out. So they could be wins and they could get back into the playoff spot. I just don't see it this year. It looks like a rough go of it, more so because of the defense being, one of the worst. And actually, points allowed wise, they are the worst in district at 260 points allowed so far through 6 games. So not great.
All righty, real quick before we move on to our stock up segment, a quick word from our friend John.
Everything's bigger in Texas, especially Texas high school football. We're entering our 7th season with the Denko Gridiron platform. We started this 7 years ago right across the street at West Oak Coffee Bar. Just an idea to bring content directly wherever you are. Be a part of the community. Join us. Help our contributors to tell the stories each and every Friday night throughout the season. Talking your town, your team.
All righty, on to our stock up teams.
Real quick, I appreciate John's message. We throw this in just kind of give us a little 30-second breather in our shows, but also if you want to contribute, you can always check out our website and see what we've got going on. Lee does a great job with videos. We have the content and all the goings on when it comes to standings and rankings and all that good jazz at dencogridiron.com, which he has up on the web on our on our show right now. If you want to reach out, right below Lee's face, his beautiful face this morning. If you want to reach out to us, you can hit us up at info@dencogridiron.com. Again, right below Lee's beautiful face. If for coaches, send your stats in there. If you want to contribute or advertise and support us, that's the way to do it. And of course, you can always follow us at Denko Gridiron on Twitter, on Threads, on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you get your football entertainment pleasures. That's where you can find us. All right. So stock up, right? We've got 5 teams to talk about. We'll talk about the last couple too briefly, but the first one, Hebron. We were down on them last week after coughing up a 27-7 lead to Marcus. They could have had the same thing happen to them again in giving up a second half lead. They could have rolled over when Plano East took the lead on them in the first half. But they shook off of that slow start and pulled out a 38-28 win over Plano East to thrust themselves into that mix of 4 teams in 6-6A for that playoff spot. So stock up to Hebron. Man, what is happening with my computer? Sorry, guys. Just keeps blanking on me every time I want to say something impactful. Good game from Patrick Creighton Jr. It's a good bounce back week. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, definitely a good bounce back week for the Hebron Hawks. I was trying to remember their mascot name for some weird reason. I really wanted to say it. I don't know how I just feel like it's a fun Hebron Hawks is just like a fun name. It just, I don't know what the term is, but it's like it just rolls off the tongue. It's like,
alliteration.
There you go. Alliteration. I don't remember high school English. Patrick Creighton Jr. though, you already alluded to it. Great game. Dude was 27 of 34. So 79% passing, going out there getting 260 some odd yards, a couple touchdowns. Heck of a game. And that's what you need from your quarterback in a bounce back week, right? And especially against a team like Plano East, who's been playing pretty well this season. They've come out, they were undefeated, or 3-1 coming into the game.
Yep.
So this was a Plano East team that's played really well this season. And Drew Deliver for Plano East had a bit of a slow game. He did have 3 touchdowns, but he had the 1 interception. And I think that Hebron made do with that 1 turnover by Deliver or DeViller. I'm mispronouncing that name. It's not Deliver. It's DeViller. I apologize, Drew. Plano East.
If you I think it's Drew Devilier.
Devilier. All right, I apologize, Drew.
I also could be wrong too. I think I'm good with pronunciations of names, but
I just know it's not Deliver because the L is after the V. So
yeah,
I
that's
apologize.
true.
That is definitely wrong how I was saying it. So I apologize, man.
No, you're right. I mean, he struggled in that game. He did have 3 touchdowns passing. But completion percentage wise, they was not sharp.
Not as sharp as he's been this season. I think that's below his season total because I believe coming into the game, I think he was somewhere closer to like the 50s or 60s. If off the top of my head.
Yeah, it was a rough go, and then they get Plano East overall had 3 turnovers, so it's good for Hebron forcing those turnovers as well as taking advantage of shorter fields and extra possessions. So
which is big. I love that they're taking advantage of that because I think that's where some teams occasionally you'll see them. They don't really do a lot with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll talk I'll go ahead and talk because we didn't talk about them at all. We talked about them last week. The Jags, the Florida Jaguars. They have a tendency to get, and this is 2 weeks in a row we've seen them, and they'll have a tendency to get in short field, whether it's off a turnover or they'll have a great drive, they'll be cooking, and they just slow down a little bit once they get inside the red zone or inside the 10. And I don't know what that is necessarily. It doesn't. Sometimes the play calling is really good. It feels like sometimes there's an execution issue or there's like a urgency thing where sometimes they get a little too rushed or they slow down a little too much. It's very bizarre. I don't know what's going on there. It's very weird.
It mirrors kind of like the Cowboys a little bit. If you watch them this season, we talk about how prolific offenses or bad offenses are really good at getting the what's the word? The empty yardage, and that's going to be between the 20s or before the red zone. And then when you get to the red zone, things just kind of bog down. We could have thrown Flower Mound into that stock down as well, just again with two disappointing losses. I guess maybe I forgot to add them in there. But yeah,
I don't know how far stock down I am with Flower Mound. Like I am down a little bit. It's I'm more up on Marcus than I am down on Flower Mound in a
fair enough.
way.
But I think just because again who they beat early in the season and how they competed against McKinney, again kind of inflates that thought. But you kind of going back to the crux of the conversation is like they were able to take advantage of Hebron. Hebron was able to take advantage of shorter fields and convert into some scoring drives and get the win, and that's huge. You get the win however you can, and they did a good enough job to bounce back from last week's disappointing loss to Marcus in overtime. All right, next team on the stock up, Denton High. They're a team that wants to get into the playoffs, missing out by a game last year to Lake Dallas. Right now, because of the huge win last night over Independence, they are right in that discussion of being a playoff team. Actually, they're the 4th seed in 3-5 AD2, along with Lake Dallas and Argyle. So you flipped one loss from last year, and that was Independence, and now you have Creekview and Memorial. So this is more of like a futures stock up as well, because you have 2 bad teams coming up. Now Memorial could throw a wrench in there just because of how well they played against Lake Dallas, but if Denton can do the same thing again these next couple of weeks that they did to Independence, that's 3-1 in district. That gets you into the playoffs, I think. Those 3 wins, because then you're going to have Emerson and Emerson, Lake Dallas, and Argyle still. Or no, who do they play? I'm blanking. I think they play Argyle.
I got you. It's going to be, to round out the season, they have Creekview. They will be at Standridge, which is in Carrollton.
Yep. Then Memorial,
Argyle, and Lake Dallas to round out the season.
Yeah, so they've already lost to Emerson. So again, getting the win against Independence was huge. It flipped from last year. So this is it was a great effort last night. Their trio of running backs put it on them. Their defense played solid. So you get that effort next week against Creekview. You're now 2-1 in district, and if you can do it the week after with Memorial, not next week. They have a bye this coming week. Sorry, 2 weeks from now against Creekview, and then 3 weeks against Memorial. You're 3-1, and you're firmly into the driver's seat of that 4th playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a ton to add on there. It's great to see the Broncos go out there and run the ball really efficiently. We talked a lot about Coco Brown not being back early in the season, and then now they've kind of figured out, hey, we have got a few other players that can go out there and run this ball really, really well, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah, I will say though, it is a bit disappointing to see the lack of passing game though. That's going to be their huge Achilles heel moving forward, especially against like an Argyle or Lake Dallas, and then if they get into the playoffs. I was expecting a better season this year from Lawson Floyd, just based off of that one game last year and what the coaches were talking about. He's only completing 39% of his passes. It's not great, but they don't need him to be great right now. So
no, they just need him to go out there and kind of do a little bit of what he did this week, preferably a little more efficient, a little better than 42% passing with the 116 yard. The yardage is fine, 116, but a little bit more efficient in terms of the completion percentage would be great. Yeah. But Jaden Davis, LaMarcus Robinson, Jacoby Gladney, they're just going out there and racking up the yardage on the ground.
Yeah, for sure. So if they can get that performance week in and week out, and the defense shows up the way it did this against Independence, only allowing 77 yards, yeah, they're going to be just fine the next couple of games that they have on their calendar. Okay. Speaking of, reversing trends and that's kind of the next two teams actually is Aubrey and Marcus. Both started really rough. Aubrey, what was it, 0-3, 0-4?
0-4.
0-4 to start the year. Ugly losses. They had a close loss, and then the offense just completely went kaput. And now, starting district, they've just reasserted themselves as the standard of 5-4A Division II.
Yeah, they came out with, like you said, two really impressive wins. I mean, this Gainesville team had played really well coming into this game, and they came out and just ran them off the field,
Yep.
which is what you want to see from this Aubrey team. Go out and run a team off the field, run it down their throat, play your style of football, and make it hard for anybody else to compete with you.
Yeah, for sure. Emerson Cagle and Dylan Brooks, I think, combined for 5 touchdowns on the night. And they gave Gainesville absolutely no shot to make this a game. We talked about it on Wednesday. Gainesville was kind of a surprise team. Didn't know really how good they were. They were 4-1. Their lone loss was a 1-point road win or home win, one of the two.
It was a 1-point loss to
Vernon at home.
Yeah, to Vernon at home, and
who was undefeated.
Undefeated.
Yeah, so they were 4-1 and at the top of the standings, so we just didn't really know how good they are, and apparently not as good as Aubrey, because Aubrey just smacked them left to right, up and down, and all over the field. And now it sets up what I presume to be the game to be a district title between Van Alstyne and Aubrey. And Aubrey has completely owned that series the last few years. If I'm looking at it real quick, next week, Van Alstyne and Aubrey in the past meetings, Aubrey won 35-14 last year. 2021, it was 44-10, and in 2020, it was 42-3. So the trend has been that it's been a closer game, but Aubrey is still dominated. So yeah, I'm saying next week is the district championship game essentially between these two. I can't see any other team like Farmersville or Crum or who else is on their calendar.
Sanger
yeah, competing with the team. So if they get past Van Alstyne next week, you're looking at a district championship again, I think, for Aubrey.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
All righty. We're going to talk about this team a little bit more later in our thoughts on the games that we saw, but just want to shout out Marcus, showing some resiliency. They got some stock up the last 2 weeks for different reasons. One, on a comeback win, and being able to get your first win of the season after 3 awful performances, pretty much to start the year. And then now you're tied atop the district standings with Coppell after a gutty win last night in the Mound Showdown. And then lastly, Ponder. Don't have any info about the game, really. I just know outside of we mentioned Cooper Reynolds getting his 3 INTs and setting the single season record for picks at 7. And we've got 5 games still left to go. So it's good to see just get a win in the losing streak that they were on at 2, and have some good feelings going back into district play next week.
Yeah, I don't think I have a ton to add there, just because we'll get a little more into the Marcus and Flower Mound game, and I've already kind of gotten a little bit into it to some degree.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's and the no change. Pretty much every other team that we mentioned outside of the ones that we've already sold our stock off on. So it's Braswell, Ryan, Lone Star, Panther Creek. Braswell again, so let's delete that. Liberty, Christian, Northwest, the Colony, Prestonwood, and Reedy pretty much had the expected results this week that you would have expected going into the game. So no change in their stock, regardless if they won or lost. All right, Lee, one of our favorite things to talk about are the games that we saw this week. I'll let you lead off with Thursday's game, and that's Wilmer Hutchins versus Panther Creek.
Yeah, I had a blast watching this game. We talked about it on Wednesday, kind of going into it. We weren't really 100% sure. I thought you said you thought this was going to be a healthy win for Panther Creek. I thought it was going to be kind of a hefty win after the more we kind of started looking into things. And we knew that the quarterback play for Hutchins had been fairly efficient. They had a good running game, but they hadn't really thrown the ball downfield. They didn't stretch the field a lot. And we get out there, and all of a sudden, this is a ball game when there's an 85-yard kick return for the Hutchins, whatever. I don't remember their mascot. Eagles. Okay, Hutchins Eagles. It's an 85-yard kick return for a touchdown. And all of a sudden, we're kind of in a dogfight here early in the game. And it feels like we're in a shootout after the first half because both offenses are playing pretty well. And then by the end of it, Panther Creek starts to pull away, and Hutchins just couldn't quite keep up. And I was pretty happy to see what Panther Creek did from the defensive side of it. They had some big plays from it was
Donovan Webb.
Oh, Donovan Webb. That's what it was. That's who it was.
Yeah, who had the
he had some big pass breaks. He had the pick six. He also had some really nice pass breakups there in the secondary in the second half. The pick six, I believe, was in the first half.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Because they had traded the lead. So it was 3-0, then 7-3, then 10-7, then 14-10, 17-14, and then the pick six allowed them to go up by 2 scores or something like that. I might have messed up the numbers, but that pick six was huge because it gave them the cushion that they absolutely needed. Because right to start the second half, Hutchins scores to draw it within 3. I was thoroughly impressed with Hutchins' ability to play bully ground game with Jaheim Cummings and his brother Jacob, I believe is his name.
Yeah, Jacob.
So it was an impressive showing. I didn't know what to expect out of Hutchins. I just knew that they were undefeated and had put a curb stopping on Pinkston the week before. So had no clue what to expect, and they are a decent team. I think the quarterback play could be improved from them, and I think it also allowed Panther Creek to have to be challenged. It was a good challenge for them in terms of what they might see the rest of the district, because now they're going to go against Carter, who struggled against Pinkston this Friday night. So now you kind of know. What to expect, I guess, in district the rest of the way. Salina is going to be a different animal for sure. They were on a bye week, but they were hit with some adversity. They responded each time, and then they were able to get that space and air needed to pull out the win. So I was concerned about their front defense being bullied a bit, but they made the stops necessary, and that's what winning teams need to do, and they did it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, that this is the kind of competition. This is a good game for them because it kind of introduced everyone, because this is a young team. Most of their players are, like, I think you told me it's sophomores and juniors for the most part, outside of a few seniors. I think Braxton Roberts is a senior, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So they have some seniors on the team, but for the most part, it is really young. And so this is a good introduction to what this district is going to be like and how competitive it'll be, and what those better teams are going to be capable of, and that you're going to have to play pretty physical football. When you play Dallas Carter or Salina, those are physical football teams. And it was fun watching Hutchins. One thing I loved, this is not a team we cover or anything, but I just was really impressed with the fact that they were trying to throw short and do these little quick screens to their guys who are obviously pretty quick and these playmakers. However, they tried taking shots downfield once the lead, Panther Creek started stretching the lead a little bit. They kind of abandoned those short passes and stuff and said, hey, all right, let's take some shots downfield. So that quarterback play needs to get a little bit better for Hutchins, but that's a program that I'm kind of excited to kind of watch from afar and see what they do here in the next few years, because I think you just get some timing down for guys like Tamaje McMillan and figure that kind of stuff out. I think that's a really good program.
Yeah, and then kind of looking back at the Panther Creek thing, I think what's also impressive about this is outside of being bullied up front a bit by that run game, they won on the ground on their own, and they won without needing Braxton Roberts to throw for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. I think that's
Yeah.
the more impressive thing about this game is that you still put up 38, 31 on the offensive side of the ball. And despite having the ball run down your throat, you were able to control the game as well as you could, and not have to rely solely on Roberts's arm to win. So I think that spoke volumes in terms of how well rounded this team can be if all parts on offense and all parts on defense are working.
Yeah, that's another really good point because Seth Jackson, they had 3 different guys with rushing touchdowns with Seth Jackson, Centel Simpson, and then Braxton Roberts even had one. I completely forgot about that. I think he
Yeah, you had the
ran someone
video.
over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you had the
I'd
video for it
forgotten
for
that
sure.
Braxton had one. So it was a great showing for them on the ground, and
Yep.
they were able to move the ball, get in the red zone, and then do their own little bit of play some physical football on the offensive side. It's just gonna be like you said that the defensive front is more of the concern. The offense, I don't think is a worry.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So
All right. Okay. So the game that we saw last night, and it so happened to be a happy accident, I think, in terms of, a leftover essentially, because the game we wanted to see, or we were going to go see, was Frisco Legacy and Argyle Liberty Christian. That fell through with our plans, and so we found our backup, which was the Mound Showdown, and it lived up to a showdown type of moniker. It started off as what looked like it was going to be a runaway by Marcus, and then something in the fourth quarter just it changed with Flower Mound getting 3 straight scores to pull it within 2, and it was an electric atmosphere over there in Flower Mound. The stands were packed. I thoroughly enjoyed what I was watching in terms of Isaiah Kalakipi for Marcus, and the second and third quarterbacks playing with their hair on fire in terms of backing up Jake Watson, who went out with an ankle injury in the third quarter, and trying to will that team into a win. It was really good to watch in terms of just 2 area teams that we cover just going, blow for blow.
it was absolutely bonkers there towards the end. I mean, it felt like Flower Mound was bound to convert the 2-point conversion, and then it was like, all right, are they going to recover another onside when that
onside was insane?
It was the most ridiculous onside kick if you didn't see it, because they kick an onside. Marcus kind of stacked the wrong side of the field, it felt like. And
I don't know what they were doing.
The ball was just destined to go out of bounds, and then the guy on the edge just swats it, jumps up as high as he can for Flower Mound, bats it back into play as hard as he possibly could, and it just goes right to some Flower Mound player. I'm
watching the video right now. Yeah, so
I've never.
Yeah, so you're right. Their alignment was really weird. Like they had 3 guys on one side of the onside kick, and usually you have 8. So you have like your protectors, 4 protectors, and 4 on the hands, and they went with 3, which is very curious call. Maybe they went with 4, but like still, where the ball was at, there was only 3. And then I don't know who this is on the number 3. Who was 3? I think that was Drake Hudson. He was on the far side, got the fortuitous bounce, and jumps up and basically just spikes it back down to his teammates. And Marcus is just sitting there, just waiting for the ball. So it was an insane recovery. And I think, what did I say to you on the sideline when they were mounting that comeback? I was like, I kind of hope Flower Mound comes back so it can have this little narrative of Noah Erdman and I forgot the other.
It's Cody Brady. Cody
Yeah,
Brady.
something like that. But it was mostly Noah Erdman leading a comeback win over Marcus, and then I don't know her name, but some lady said I think you were there.
Oh yeah, that was Marie. Shout out Marie Jones, who I know. I played baseball with her son Eric.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, grew up
Small
playing
world.
with
I did not know that about that. I
Yeah.
thought it was just some random photog who was talking about
No. I've
Yale.
known her for a while.
Okay, yeah, but so y'all started discussing about Yale Erdman coming back after Nick Evers got hurt a couple years ago and leading the
That was
comeback
insane.
win. So yeah, no, it was just an electric game. I went down like right as Flower Mound started mounting their comeback, and energy was really really high and electric.
I definitely think that there's room for I will I'm very happy for Marcus because I love this is I'm not trying to yeah, I love these games. I could go to a mountain showdown every year and I won't complain because it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
Like they're the best. I think 6-6A might have the best rivalries in our coverage area. I mean, between the Battle of the
Ooh.
Axe and like, I mean, maybe it's they just have more of them. I mean, I wish we got to go to Crum Ponder. I just like that game was fun as it gets, but it's like 6-6A has so many of them.
Yeah,
Like,
just
they're
because they've been
just
playing for so long and staying in
yeah,
the same
like it's
district for sure.
I mean, the Battle of the Axe and the Mound Showdown, it's like, gosh, like and like they're just loaded. In those
Yeah,
games, like,
I think you're right. I think those
it's
might
tough.
be the
Like
best.
when you get a couple of 6-6A or 6A programs that have rivalries that deep, it's like, all right, it's tough to beat. Like those
Yeah.
atmospheres get real intense.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it was a good game. It sucks that one team had to lose because I could have watched that one just drag on. I think even Isaiah
I wanted overtime.
Kelekepe said so after when we talked to him. He's like, I'm ready to go for 2 more series or whatever. Just, I mean, he had 30 carries. God bless him. The
He
kid
seemed
was,
like he had another 20 carries in him. I
oh
mean, that
yeah,
dude's energy. I love that kid. That guy's
yeah.
awesome. If he's
It was
watching
high
this,
energy. I
I
mean,
love him.
yeah, a very high energy kid. Probably not as high or as intense or high energy as Khalil Smith was.
Oh, that
I don't
guy's
think
awesome
anybody
too.
could top him.
No,
But
no.
yeah, he was running back and forth between
Different
photos
kind of
and
energy.
celebration. So yeah, it was a good atmosphere to be part of down on the field for sure.
Yeah, it was such a blast right at kickoff too.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
imagine.
they had Moses in the stands.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, Moses was in the stands. You didn't see him?
No,
He
I
had a
definitely
staff
I
and he
didn't
had a
see any
poster
C's part.
in the fly. Yeah, no, he was there. It was a kid.
Interesting.
There was a kid. There was a dude in the student section dressed like Moses.
So I do.
The fly. I couldn't get a lot of great video of the Marcus student section. I tried to, but it was like the way things were. It was kind of hard where the cheerleaders were. But the Flower Mound students were like, yeah, camera,
right.
and like I don't know what was going on. It was insane.
All right, so I need you to answer me this, and I think you were on that part of the sideline when it went down. So we did the national anthem as we do with every high school football game.
Mhm.
We have some choir group singing, and they're wrapping up the last little stanza of songs, and then you hear the Flower Mound kids erupt into something with like 10 words left to sing or 10 bars still left to sing.
They started singing. I think they thought they were doing something cool because they started singing along. It was real weird. And then at the very end,
They just erupted like loudly.
yeah. Oh, so like at the very end, they say "Home of the Jags." Like they
Okay,
go,
but like it sounded like they were singing that way ahead of the
they
choir.
were they the entire like halfway through the song, the student section tried singing along to the national anthem with the choir. They were completely out of sync.
Okay,
with
because
the choir.
we were
They
like,
were like
are
they were like 3 stanzas behind or ahead.
yeah. So okay,
It was not.
wow.
It was out of sorts. It was. I was like, "What? No, stop!"
We were in the
This
press
is
box, and
no,
we're just like,
I was getting secondhand embarrassment. I was like, "Please
oh
stop."
yeah. Well,
This
because I
is
looked over, I'm like, are they from the future or something like that? I'm like, am I missing something? Is there a gap in the space-time continuum? Because
It was
they're
weird.
celebrating over there and they're still singing here. What is happening? Because I know, like, it's a very tiresome bit. All the school kids in the schools in the area will yell out Stars because we have the Dallas Stars locally, and great, we're not at a Stars game, and to me it's very tiresome to hear that every week. But I was just vastly confused as to why they were celebrating the end of the national anthem before the end of the national anthem.
Yeah, they just do the home of the Jags, and I guess they throw up their claws. I don't know. They do home of the Jags, and I think they were just ahead because they were ahead the entire time.
Interesting. Okay, that answers it because I had no clue. I was just vastly confused down there. So shout out to Jags student section. Maybe you guys need a little bit of music retraining so you can know what the words are and not be
Someone
ahead.
needs to conduct,
Yes.
Conductor down there.
Or just leave it to the band, to the choir and the band to do their part, and you guys can just celebrate.
You guys are awesome, though. I do love that student section. Hey, you guys bring that energy anytime, everywhere. Like it was. I loved it. It was a vibe.
Oh yeah, I mean, shout out to all the students
and Marcus. Oh yeah, and shout out to Marcus. I didn't get as much video.
Well,
of you guys,
Wilmer,
y'all
Hutchins,
were bringing it too. Y'all were awesome. I love you too.
To the fans from Wilmer Hutchins that traveled to go see their team. That's a long travel going from South Dallas all the way up to Frisco to watch a game on Thursday night.
Forgot about that.
The Panther Creek fans, all the fans that we kind of interact with on the sidelines, or the players and the coaches. Y'all keep bringing that energy. It's fun to watch, and it's stuff that's not necessarily discussed in terms of a lot of when it comes to high school football and the pageantry when you're talking about the teams and everything. So shout out to everybody who makes the Friday Night Lights what it is in the state.
Oh yeah. You guys are what makes it so much more fun to go to a game with a camera, get video, whether it's the tunnel crew, the band, the guys out there, like the percussion guys, the playing trumpet, whatever, or the color guard, the flag, the guys who run around with the flag. I don't know what you are called. But the guys who run out with the flag after a touchdown. Or
flag runners.
The flag runners. I don't know. Oh, never know.
I think that's the only thing you can't call them is flag runners, because that's what they're doing. They're running with the flag.
I have no idea. It's the guys that run. Yeah. So you run with the flag runners. After you score touchdowns, cheerleaders, all you guys make going out there and getting, like you said, the pageantry of high school football. It's what makes getting video there so much fun. And obviously a shout out to all the players and stuff. You guys are, kind of the heart and soul and everything of
absolutely
football and stuff. But like all of it together is what makes it so much fun to go out there on Thursdays and Friday nights.
Yep, absolutely. All right, man, we need to wrap this up. Even though we started late, we still want to kind of wrap up on time and get to watching some college football, because that's the most important thing now on Saturdays is college football.
Yeah, it was Saturdays for college football, Thursdays and Fridays. That's for high school football.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we've got some top 5 performers for week 6. We actually do have a defensive player in here for the first time since we've been doing this, which is great to see. I love these little nuggets that pop up and like, ooh, we can throw that in there instead of just only offensive, because that's what's mostly tracked by the Dallas Morning News and others, in real time. So we appreciate that service that they do. Anywho, top 5 performers. We have Isaac Harney, quarterback for Guyer. So I don't know what's going on in terms of Logan McLaughlin, if he's been benched, if he's hurt, or they're just trying out a new quarterback. And I'm not a fan of the back and forth system, but it worked last night in Guyer's 55-7 win over McKinney Boyd. Isaac threw for 332 yards and 4 touchdowns. Huge performance for him. Big win. Guyer, they're cruising right now, so they're gonna come up and get some competition here shortly. But easy win last night for Guyer over Boyd. Number 2, Tristan Airy, running back for Frisco Reedy. He put up 242 yards on the ground, 6 touchdowns. They scored 49 points, which is 7 touchdowns. He scored 6 of them. So shout out to Tristan over there and Reedy. He seems to have established himself as the guy for that Reedy offense. All right. Number 3 is Ife Durode. I hope I said that last name right. I know I said it differently the last time I mentioned his name, but the running back for Northwest, I think he is now our area leader in rushing yards. He had 243 yards on 3 carries. 243 yards and 3 touchdowns last night for Northwest big win over Azle. That was a rout. Cooper Reynolds is number 4. He had 3 INTs. That was that note we mentioned earlier that you brought up. For Ponder, he had 3 interceptions, including the game-sealing interception, and now is the single-season record holder for INTs on the year with 7. And we've still got 5 weeks of games left to go. So the chance of him having a pretty monster season is there. Oh, we got Allison Apple Livingston listening
Hi,
from. This is Livingston. How's it going? We appreciate you listening from Oklahoma. Unfortunately,
Tell my sister hi. Hi, Blair. Hi, Dad.
So we got some shout outs. We appreciate the love. And then the last one, we talked about him earlier in the Marcus and Flower Mound game, the high energy Hawaiian kid. I found out that his name is Hawaiian and he confirmed it. It's Isaiah Kelekipi from Marcus. He had 204 yards on 30 carries and 3 touchdowns, including the game sealing touchdown. With a little bit too much time left on the clock, he admitted as much. He shouldn't have gone out of bounds and probably shouldn't have scored the touchdown. But, when it's green pastures out that way, it's hard to stop a high school kid. What's up?
Go get your go get your 6.
Go get your 6.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, usually you would want to stop right at the 1 and burn more time and salt away the win. Now, no, you don't. Yeah, let's have more possessions. No, but shout out to him. His performance last night was instrumental in Marcus being able to pull out that win over Flower Mound. So there you have it, our top 5 performers of the week.
All righty. I think that's going to do it for us here at the Denko Gridiron. That's going to do it for our recap show. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, X, Instagram, Facebook, all the good social media stuff.
Yeah, only the good ones. Not MySpace, not Friendster.
All the dead stuff. All righty. Later, guys.